Hi, I'm Joe Fraser. I'm the Pro-Vice Chancellor of Indigenous Strategy at the University of New England. Today we're here to talk about country and what is country for Aboriginal people. I guess the first thing I'd think about is that there's a difference between physically the land and this concept of country. Land is this physical entity that's defined by people's occupation, lifestyle, boundaries. And country is really this spiritual, metaphysical connection. It's a family connection that grounds people to place. Country forms the very core of Aboriginal people's existence within Australia, and it has a very large impact on the philosophy, particularly of education, that people bring to places like the University of New England. You will hear people do welcome to country, and it's more than a welcome to a place, it's a welcome to our connections, our past, and in many ways the future as well. The implications of country for people, I think, are really, really significant. If we're to think just purely about something like art, and maybe the piece on the wall behind me by Selena Numina, it's a reflection of the country that Selena is from and what she understands. It incorporates elements of place and the way that those images are worn on the body and reflect her understanding of who she is and where she's from. People like Big Bill, the Gagaju man from Kakadu, his whole philosophy is that he is significantly connected to country, and that his connection is one of the land as his mother. He says things like, if you cut me, I'll bleed. You cut the tree, it bleeds. When I die, you put me in the ground and I become the tree. It's that genealogical connection and the links to the future for people as well. We find Indigenous knowledges heavily reflected through notions of country. In this country we see land forms that are connected to creation stories, and those creation stories provide an understanding of people's place in the world, how they got there, what their links to the world are. Again, up in Kakadu you find people their connection to the world is through the moieties, where the world is divided into two, and everything in the world is divided into those two pieces, those two moieties. People are not separate from country. For myself, I'm heavily drawn back to where I grew up and that area in the top end where my grandmother was born, and I find that place is really significant, and there's that sort of yearning for place that people have, and the notion of country is this really deep connection, familial, it's spiritual, and it gives people their place in the world. So there's many different Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander groups, First Nation groups in Australia, and as such there's many different countries. Country is specific to those spiritual cultural groups represented through people's kinship systems. Their kinship systems connect people to place through creation stories. And so I'm reluctant to talk about pan-Aboriginality, but the notion of country I think is a notion that's shared by many different cultural groups. And I think we see that in the way that people want to be specific if they do a welcome to country, for example, rather than an acknowledgement. So an acknowledgement is, just saying, listen, let's not forget that we're somebody else's land. A welcome to country is that connection from that cultural group, that kinship group that's connecting people to their ancestors and their place. And I think this is true for people in the land and sea, rivers, people connected to the waters and the ocean, people connected to the cosmos. We see different dreaming stories that connect us to the stars and the environment all around us. So I think it's significant that we acknowledge that there's more than just one country, that country is very specific to those people who are connected to that sense of place and hold that spiritual and kinship connection to the places that are closest to them.